Hey everybody, Skater Zero here. This is going to be a follow-up to the previous tutorial I did on how to use the Hunger Games map generator, so if you haven't checked that out, please go check it out now. If you're already pretty comfortable, then you don't have to, but these are going to be some of the more advanced topics, so command line generation I'll be covering, generators, schematics, settings files, and chest item files. So the first thing I want to cover is command line generation. And if you go to the SourceForge webpage, you can find a template for command line generation. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to head over to my Hunger Games map generator folder, which I've got loaded up here. And you'll notice I already have, so this comes with the .zip file when you download, a command line example.bat. So if we edit this in any text editor, we can change, I'll just paste in that template. What this does is we'll run the hdmd.jar, but allow you to not have to change any of the settings manually by clicking on buttons and things like that. So you can automatically generate worlds without having to do anything other than run this .bat. So you want to change all these things. You don't want to keep the parentheses, just overwrite world folder with whatever you want to name it. So for example, I might want to call it just world, and that will create a new folder called world and put all the files in there. Let's say I want it to be 350 by 300. And the generator name, this is the name of the generator that's in this generator folder without the .jar. So if I wanted it to be a round, I would just say round. I'm going to type in round. The settings file is the same idea. You want to type in the name of the settings file without the .dat. So if I wanted to use, say, a desert, I would type in desert. And then number of players, this is 12 or 24. I'll show you how to change that later, but we'll just do 12 and save that file. So now when we go out, we can double click on command line example.bat. You would maybe want to rename this as something like, this is a default with the desert setting 350 by 300, just so you know what you're actually generating when you click on this. So when you double click on that, what happens is it'll automatically run the hdmd.jar and output all the text that you'd normally see in the graphic version of this. And when it's all done, it closes up. You'll notice this new folder world here. That now has all the information of that of the map I just generated. So this I could then say copy and paste out into a bucket folder or into the single player saves area and play with it. You can also set this up to put your world folder automatically right in your bucket folder, so you don't have to do any copying and pasting. So the next topic I want to cover is the generators. So generators are the .jars, which you already saw, and I'll show you those again. That's in the generators folder of whatever folder you extracted your generator to. So now this is the ones that come with the default, or basically the default generator, but with different tweaks. If you had, say, wanted to create a new one, you can go to this page. It'll tell you sort of how to modify. I've released the source code on these. So basically all you have to do is say copy the source code and tweak whatever it is that you want to tweak, save it as a new .jar and paste it into here. And then when you run the map generator, that generator will show up. So for example, I could copy and paste this, and I'll say call it my generator. And then I could modify it. So when I run the hdmd.jar, you notice there's a new generator in here called my generator. So another way to modify the generators, apart from actually rewriting all the source code and compiling it, is to change the schematics. Now the schematics, this page sort of details how they work, what blocks become what blocks when they're copied over. It's not exactly a one-to-one, so you'll notice this picture here gives you an example of one of the ruins that's used in the default generator. You can see in the background the center schematic. So you'll notice that all the places where there's air, when it copies that over into the map, become whatever was previously in the map. So say you had a new schematic, what you can do is go into your generator and open this with, I would just use WinRAR or something that can open a .jar. And under schematics, you could then paste in new schematics, and this web page will tell you what schematics you can actually add. So say Fort, you could add Fort5.schematic, and it would use 1 through 4, but also the new one that you've added. The certain ones you can't reuse, obviously the spawn box, there's only one of those, so if you add spawn box _2, it's not going to use it. But for example, say you wanted to change the spawn box from the just sort of plain and boring Bedrock spawn box, you could create your own schematic in Minecraft or MCEdit or whatever program it is you want to use, and export it and copy and paste into this .jar, replacing spawn box. And then when the generator is run and you use my generator, it would actually use whatever spawn box it was that you wanted to use. Same goes for all these schematics. If you wanted to replace them, you could. The thing I mentioned about center 24 and 12, that those determine how many players. So when you enter in 12 in the HGMG.jar, what it's doing is going to go look for center 12 or center 24, depending on which you entered. So for example, if you wanted to have one that was larger than 24, you could create your own and use maybe even the center 24.schematic in MCEdit or something along those lines to make a larger one. You could make, say, a 48 or whatever sizes as you want, paste that into here, and when you entered in 48 or whatever number into the generator as the number of players, it will use that schematic instead of these two. So that's how to change the number of players that's supported. The other thing that you can change is the settings files. So the settings files, this explains sort of what's in a settings file and what constitutes a settings file. If you go in here and open again with the WinRAR and go into the settings folder, you'll notice these are the settings files that you can choose from when you run the HGMG.jar. And you'll notice also that I have a little icon here, and these can be opened with a program called NVT Explorer, and I'll set up a link for that in the description. But if I say double click on this, it'll open automatically with this NVT Explorer, and that's a named binary tag. So anything that can edit these kind of files will work, but I find that NVT Explorer works well and haven't had any problems with it. And you can open these little plus signs, and you'll notice there's all these different names of things, which are the settings and a value. So for example, if I felt like there just wasn't enough forts or farms in a certain, in say the default.dat, which I have open here, I can double click on that and edit the value. So let's say I want 30 farms. I now have num farms as 30, and I can save that. Now I would recommend saving it as a new .dat, so copying and pasting in a new .dat that's say default with a renamed something like default custom or something along those lines, so you know that you've modified it and it's not actually the original default. But you can just modify any of these in here if you want. And if you say like the snow but you want to change one little thing about it, you can go in and modify any of the variables that are in here. All of these, if you look in the source code, it has a description on what each of these things actually means or what it does. Some of them you can kind of figure out, like cactus chance is the chance of generating a cactus in a desert area. So for example, on the snow, the cactus chance is 0, meaning there shouldn't be any cacti. But yeah, if you can't figure it out, the source code's on SourceForge, and you should be able to look into that and find out what each of those things does. And then the other thing we can change is the chest items file. So if you click on this, it gives you a description. This file is also an NBT, and it's also located inside the generators. So if you open it with WinRAR or whatever it is that you want to use, you'll notice there's a file in here called chestitems.dat, and you can edit that with NBT Explorer as well. And the way that this works is there's one giant folder that's called chest items, and in each of these you have different lists of items that can be found in the various places around the map. So center 0 is what items can we find in that lowest level of the center pyramid. Center 1 is the next level up, and center 2 is the top level with the 4 chests. So let's say, for example, we want to modify what's in center 0. It's a list of multiple entries, so these what I call kits, and each of these kits has a chance. So you notice this kit has a chance of 20%, so you enter the chance as decimal, not 20, because that's not going to work. It has to be between 0 and 1. So this kit has a 20% chance of being generated, this has a 10%, this has a 5%. And if you click on the items, it lists whatever's inside the actual kit. And a kit doesn't necessarily have to have more than one item in it. So in this case, you'll notice items has just one entry. That means there's a 20% chance that it's going to put all of the items that are in this list, which is just one entry, into the lower center 0 tier of the center chest. And these are entered by mean, width 3, damage, and ID. So mean is the average number of items that you want to have generated. So it has a 0.2% chance of generating one of the 268. And you can look up these IDs or data values from Minecraft. So these are all set. You can find them on Minecraft Wiki or wherever it is you want to look those up. Width 3, this relates to standard deviations. So if you are familiar with Gaussian profiles and all that kind of stuff, it basically just means what's the deviation away from the mean that you can expect. So this width 3 being 0 means there's no deviation from 1. It's always going to generate 1. So if this 20% chance is met, that means exactly one of this item will be in there. And then the damage value, that's just to change some of these items have damage values to modify what item it actually is. Potions especially, and things of that sort. So that's basically how kits work. And then the tier 0 through tier 5 are the different tiers that you find around the map. So tier 0 is pretty much like a junk tier. There's not much in here that will be very helpful. But tier 5 is the super chest. So these give you pretty much, if you can figure out how to unlock the super chest, these are the chances that you'll have these kits generated. And you'll notice that these kits actually have more than one item in them. So this has a 20% chance of being generated. It has 4 entries in it. And I'll expand all these. So the 4 entries that you could get are a 310, 311, 312, and 313, which is a set of diamond armor. And you'll notice that the mean and width 3 are 1 and 0, so you only get 1 of each. But you also notice there's this tag and enchant, so that's the enchantment tag. And these follow the exact same tags as Minecraft sets, so this isn't anything I set. It's just it tags along for the ride. When the generator copies over this entry, it'll just copy whatever you've got in here. And you'll notice that it has 1 enchantment of ID 4 and level 2, which I don't remember what these are, but you can also find these data values on the Minecraft Wiki to set what the enchantment is on this, say diamond chest plate or whatever it happens to be. You'll notice all of these have an enchantment on them. So this is the kit of an entirely diamond armor with some good enchantments on it. The other kits have different things in them as well. So you'll notice they all have enchantments. This is the pretty much what you would call the super loot. And you'll notice here that this one doesn't have an enchantment. This is, I think, arrows. And it has a mean of 20 and a width 3 of 20, which means on average you're going to get about 20 arrows, but you could get anywhere between 0 and 40, 99% of the time or something like that. It's a very high chance that the amount that you're actually going to get is between 0 and 40. If you set the width 3 to something large, like very large, or the mean even higher than, say, 64, it's going to get rounded down to 64 since you can only have a stack of at most 64. So that's how to modify the chest items. This is something that, you know, if you want to modify sort of how the gameplay works, or what are the odds of finding certain items, you can go in here and modify these, or you could just create your own entirely new file with whatever it is that you want to. So if you modify that, you can save it, put it in whatever generator it is that you want. So the last file we can change in here is called thumb.png, and by editing this, it changes what will show up when you run the hgmg.jar. So for example, this is the thumb.png for the default generator, and this is just an example thumb.png I edited for the my generator. And I suggest that if you're going to make your own generator, just come up with some sort of icon that will differentiate it from the others. So that's about all we have for today. I hope that it all made sense, and that the more advanced topics aren't too far out of the reach. But I'd like to see what people can do with the different generators, different schematics, different chest items. If you have any questions, just feel free to leave a comment, and I'll see you.